Hey, it's Josh, and today we're going to add some depth to our images using the Depth ControlNet. We're going to take an image, we're going to use our depth preprocessor to pull a depth map from it so that we have more control of the spatial aspects of our composition. Now, as complex as that sounds, it's actually super easy within Sogni. Let me show you. To use the Depth ControlNet, we're going to need to use the depth preprocessor, which means first we need an image from our gallery. So let's grab an image where we have a big difference between what is in the foreground and the background. This tree looks like a great choice. Let's restore all settings. And actually, I'm going to open up the gallery again. I just want to double check which model it was made with. It was made with a Zovia RPG Artist Tools V4, which is what we have here, which is excellent. Now, all we need to do is we're going to send this to ControlNet, which you can do by clicking this ControlNet button at the top, or we can just click and drag it over if we wanted to. It does the same thing. And we're going to go into this little icon right here that shows a landscape, which is going to turn it into a depth map. Now, what a depth map is it shows the different spatial relationships between the items in the composition. So things that are lighter in color, like this tree up here, are brighter, and the things that are further away are black. So we see this tree is in the foreground. We've got this grass. I think that's grass. Yeah, grass and bushes in the foreground that are very bright. Then as you have these other trees that are further away, they get more gray, and then the sky is like really dark gray and black. We need to choose a ControlNet model, which would be depth in this case. And let's generate 4 different images, and I'm going to do a random seed so that we're not getting an identical image. And let's imagine we actually wouldn't get an identical image anyway because I generated this initial image without ControlNet. Cool. Now you see that we have 4 different images that they all look different than each other, but they all have the same spatial relationships between the trees and the image. If we scroll down and I were to expand this bar, you can see that each of them have basically the same composition. Now, if you wanted to get really crazy, you could even invert the depth map and you're going to get totally different images. And the reason why this happens is because now it's saying that whatever is white is closest. So it's saying that the sky is the closest thing and this tree is further away. So you start to get some really weird stuff, but you can also get some cool artistic things by doing that. Now let's invert it again. And actually, we're going to switch to a different image. So I'm going to open up my gallery, exit this group, and let's pull this image. I'm going to restore all settings. And again, I need to actually, before I restore all settings, I need to remember to see which model this was. This was Art Universe V8. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to that model. Let's open up our model explorer, and we're going to switch to our ControlNet models. And I'm going to go to Art Universe, which is this one, V8, which is that one. Perfect. Let's close our model explorer. And I've got something cool and different to show you with this image and how I'm going to use the Depth ControlNet. And so the main prompt is very minimal. We have incredible 3/4 view portrait, which is just a kind of an angled portrait like this. It's a very flattering view as opposed to like a straight on portrait. And then I just have flowing hair and intricate clothing, and I have nothing else. And then if we open up the style prompt, then we can see I have bioluminescent patterns, glowing eyes, etc., which kind of put it in this underwater theme. And because of that, rather than messing with the main prompt, I'm going to leave the main prompt the same during this entire tutorial. And I'm just going to be swapping out the style prompt for different styles. I'm also going to randomize the seed, and I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to add this image to our ControlNet, and I'm going to use the depth preprocessor. So we have our depth map of this image. I'm going to go ahead and scroll back up, and let's pull in our first alternative style prompt. Let's use this one. So we have dreamscape, surreal imagery, superimposed on the face, floating in a starry void, etc. It's a cool one. But we also notice that our imagine button is gray, and that is because I have our depth map, but I did not select a ControlNet model. I could just select depth from here, but I also want to show you that if you just click imagine, it's going to prompt you to either get rid of the image in ControlNet to unset it, or to just set depth as the ControlNet model, which is nice. Now let's imagine 4 images using this new style, but the same main prompt. This is a really rad artistic style. I'm going to scroll down so you can see that it's still spatially consistent with the other image. Let's try out a different one. We've got distorted by digital glitches, pixelation, color fragmentation, face interrupted by code. This is kind of some random stuff, but it's going to be cool. Let's imagine and see what we come up with. Nice. This one really listened to the virtual reality section of the prompt, and we have a kind of a cyberpunk aesthetic. Here's another one. Spray paint on a brick wall, urban art style, vibrant, dripping colors. This would be a cool one. I want to point out that normally I don't do 30 steps. Typically I would do fewer steps just to kind of save on my test Sogni tokens. But if I open up the model explorer, you can see right here, this model is created by mixing several different models and 10 LoRa's. But the important point is that a guidance level of up to 6 and a minimum of 28 steps are recommended. So I just went with what it recommended. Initially, I had fewer steps and I just wasn't getting as good of results. Let's imagine. This is super rad. None of them actually look like they're spray painted on a wall, and that's probably because we're using a depth map, so it's actually separating her from the background. But even still, we get some really cool generations. I'm going to show you one more, and imagine once again. We have outlined and glowing neon lights, vibrant colors against a dark cityscape. This one's definitely the cyberpunk aesthetic that we were going for. You have to have pink and cyan. You know, it's not cyberpunk unless you have pink and cyan. But yeah, that's basically how the depth preprocessor works. You can kind of get different kinds of styles with a similar structure of the image, which is really cool. So you can try this out with landscapes. You can try this out with different portraits. This is really good for room interiors or architectural ones, or you can do it with like a really good product shot where you have a clear object in the foreground with a different background. There's so many different things that you can do with it. And there you have it, the power of Depth ControlNet. As always, go play around with it, and then make sure to share these cool scenes that you're making with us in Discord, and I'll see you in the next one.